Hey, I'm Andy Jenkins, and I am back on live. We'll get started right into it, and hopefully, some of you can jump on while I'm in the middle of talking. Here's the thing: every Sunday, this is actually the second one, so I really hate to say every yet, but what I like to do is get on and really through the business thing that we're involved in, I get the amazing opportunity. Hey, Bob, first that I see, get the amazing opportunity to meet some incredible people. Some really particular, I interact a lot with the guys, and so I get to meet some amazing guys. And this last week, I was interacting with one of the guys and came just to this realization again that has taught me a ton. And so I want to share via what I learned from another guy and from observing his life story and from observing specifically, and my wife's on, hey Cristy and hey Tessa, specifically from observing the chaos, let's say that, the storm, the tribulation that someone else is going through. It's given me the opportunity to see in someone else something that, well, let's say it like this, sometimes in other people, it's almost like you see a mirror of something that you would want or something that you need, or there's a lesson of value that you really need to hang on to. And this one was really timely for me, and I'll tell you why. Hey Dwayne and Ashley and Donald, thanks for just posting that off and sharing that and inviting more people into it. So here it is. There's this verse in 1 Timothy 5:8 that says something like this: a man that doesn't provide for his family is worse than an infidel, unbeliever. Tie him up, string him up, and whatever. A guy who won't provide is worse than that guy. That's straight Apostle Paul. And the danger with this Bible verse is, instead of kind of learning the tension of everything that's there, you can just take that one, and it can be one of those verses that you use like a bullet, like a grenade, like what do they call those? The rocket launchers, just to zing somebody. And I'll tell you, that financial provision thing for guys is huge. And it's easy to just say that, man, that's the one that we need to lock on to only. Now, let me be straight up. Let me give you a cursor here is, if you're being lazy and you're sitting around and you're a dude, you might need to go get a job. You might need to go do something. At the same time, there's this tension that we have in our world, especially in the Western culture, where we identify so much based on what you do. And by what you do, we mean for income outside the home, how many zeros are behind that check or lack of zeros, to where it all becomes based down to this. All right. And so, and Darren says, yeah, I had to work through that too, man. Darren is a guy that, like me, he's on there. Here's a funny thing, Darren. This is such a rabbit trail. Maybe you can make a rap song about this for the next advance. Is, those little games on Facebook that they say, hey, who are you like or whatever. There's one that pegged me and you for being like identical twins. No kidding. But we're both in that thing where you and I both work outside the home. You come in, you're working from home. Your wife, my wife, Christy's done an amazing job building up a business, and that's given me some freedom to do some things, including work on myself and work on some other projects. You've had that opportunity too, as your wife is just killing it in the business. And it's created this unique tension where you kind of face this about the provision thing. And as a guy, what are you going to do, and what do you do, and how do you identify yourself when all of a sudden maybe you're not the big breadwinner, or maybe, and let me give you the instance in the case of the story that I learned about from this friend. Maybe you're in a situation where you can't be. All right, you can't be. So I've got a friend, and I'll share his name at the end of this, because this whole thing is a big shout out to him and to a lesson that I've learned from him, seeing him, that I honestly, it's not a lesson like I've got, it's a lesson where you still kind of let this thing process and go in. Hey Chris, hey Angel, a couple of others of you coming on, thanks for hopping on. So here's the thing. This guy, I'm talking about a worker, man, this guy's a worker. I guarantee you, he got out of high school, and when he got out, he was already working. Heavy diesel mechanic, and I mean like work, not the kind of, I think of what I do as work, but honestly, a lot of times what I do is writing with a pen and paper, clicking on a keyboard. I mean, this guy I mean, I go out and do the yard with my boys, and it wipes me out. This guy, I mean, work. And he's in this instance where he decides, man, I've got some work around the house. Hey, Jim Bob, hope you're doing good, man. Learned a lot from you and struggle. And that's what we're actually talking about right now, is the lesson from another guy's struggle and seeing in someone else kind of something that we can take and import to ourselves. Hey, Brandon, shout out to you too. So this guy's a worker, and I mean like a workhorse worker. And he's working one day, not at his job, but he's working at home, and he's clearing some land, and he has this chainsaw and this chainsaw accident. And I'm not going to give you the details. I've seen the pictures. They're not good. They're horrible. Talking about major pain. You're talking about multiple surgeries. You're talking about having to move tendons and ligaments in order to make things work and kind of patch up something together. Hopefully he's going to jump on here. He doesn't even know I'm doing this. Hopefully he's going to jump on and share with you some of this story and what's going on. Talking about multiple surgeries. And at some point, one of the doctors, the physicians, is actually, and this is a praying physician, actually talking amputation. Like, you're a workhorse and you're young, and you've just married this gal, and you brought her in, into your family, and you brought her kids into the family, and all of this, and you're caring for these kids. And I'm talking like, this is like top round draft pick guy that's gonna man, a single mom marrying and raising, amazing job fathering kids. And in his own words, he says, man, I thought like I was going to be able to provide everything for them, and then right into it, this accident happens. And thankfully, a praying physician, he was scheduled up for an amputation off that leg, now from like the ankle down, not the whole leg, but still, that's not less traumatic, right? And the physician, he resigns himself to, God's will. It's how he says it, and like, man, whatever path the Lord has for me, like, something's going to happen that's going to be awesome. And but I don't want to lose the leg. And then all of a sudden, physician says, I don't have a peace about it. Like, let's see what happens. And so I really think we're on this path where healing's coming. But the conversations with this guy is, I was the financial provider, like I'm providing, and all of a sudden, and guys have to be the provider, and it's drilled in you to be the provider, and it's drilled into you to even the Bible verse I quoted, a guy who doesn't do that, it's worse than an infidel. What do? Like, straight up, are you the exception to the rule? Or like that Bible verse applies except for, or it's only truth in certain circumstances, it's only truth when all of the stars align. You see what I'm saying? Like, truth is really always true. Like, there's not exceptions to making truth untrue. And so there's got to be something in there, in that story, in that process, that is totally true and is totally dynamic. And here's what I'm learning from watching this guy. All right. Is because this is one where I'm going to be transparently honest. I dropped the ball big time. Like, it's easy for me if one of you guys, stranger, comes up and says, hey, will you pray? Pray for me. Like, even big stuff. Will you pray that I'll be healed? That's easy. Will you talk with me through, like, help me bounce this idea off of? That's easy. It's harder to do that for your family. And what I'm seeing is, like, this guy has, in the last, since his accident, this guy's put a wall of fire, literally a prayer wall of fire around his entire family. Certainly props to his wife. She stepped up to the plate big time, and is living a path now that she didn't plan, is living something in the cards that she didn't plan. But man, the way they pulled together, and I'm not pretending that there aren't hard conversations, that it's easy, and that it's stress-free and there's no emotion, but the way that these people have pulled together is amazing. And seeing that the provision is a guy that you bring to the table, I think that the most important thing that you bring to the table is a paycheck. We've been conditioned to that, and if you can work, that is an important thing to bring. It's hard to kind of keep everybody moving in the right direction unless there's food in their bellies and all that. But I tell you this, we went on a excursion. My wife's big thing is fun and family. Like, if you could give her Dane said you could do anything in the world that you want to do. She would, yeah, yeah, there you go, Jim Bob. Like you're living that. I need to connect you with Derek. You guys are living kind of the same thing right now. Two amazing women that are stepping up in huge ways. My wife thing is fun and family, and so like yesterday we went to DeSoto Caverns and we had a good time, and the kids came back. Their spirits were full. Their love tank was full. We fed them on the way, so they were stuffed when they got in, and they went to sleep and slept a little bit later this morning. Great, and I sense that from that, like that was a good day. That was good provision for them, right? Back to the thing, a guy who doesn't provide for his family, like that, you just don't want to be that guy. But there's so much more than we provide than just the money, right? And so as a sign off, thanks for joining me. Very humbled that some of you took time your Sunday afternoon while you could be napping, while you could be watching TV, surfing channels, reading, catching up with your family, doing whatever it is that you do on Sunday afternoon. Stepping in here to listen. Don't limit it, guys. Go get the paycheck and go work. But even when that's off the table and when you can't, when there are circumstances that are out of your control, don't limit your idea as being the provider of this family and the protector of this family and the guardian of the heritage that they carry, and the one who has been set in this unique role, like this unique role that thankfully God saw it fit that man was not good alone, and he sent some incredible women, as Bob says right there, and sent some amazing women who, gosh, I mean, every guy on the thread, I know that I married above my pay grade, right? We all did. Thankfully, there's some incredibly gifted women like my wife that come in, but don't limit your provision for that family to just that role of bringing home the check, okay? I'm speaking back to myself because I can see myself in the screen there. Love these women well. Love these kids well. Pray for these kids. Pray for these women. Lay your hands on them. Like your daughters need to see, sense, and feel what it's like to have your hands hug them and embrace them in a godly way that is honoring, that is true, that is noble, that is sincere. Your boys, like I've been flabbergasted by how my boys still like to be tucked in and hugged and prayers said in the evening. And so, Derek, thank you for that lesson that you taught, and all my kids are like coming downstairs. So, right in the middle of a live video. I'm sorry. That's it. I think we've landed the plane. I'm Andy Jenkins. Thanks for joining me. Derek, thank you so much for what you've taught us with your struggle with what's going on there. And I see you guys as one that is providing and is doing it right. So thank you for that. And me and all these guys that are on here on this thread honor you for that. Thank you.